These are the parts that you're going to get with your mounting kit. You've got here the poly bushes. These are slightly shinier than the rubber bushes. You can use either poly bushes or rubber or a mix of the two to get the softness that you like. We've got the lower half of the mount, top part of the mount, the bolts for mounting to the engine, washers for the bottom of the cross member. These washers are for adding onto the engine mounts to change the compression height, but I'll go into that in a moment. And these bolts and nuts are for mounting through the cross member. So in order to mount these on the vehicle, I found the best way to do it is as I'll describe now. So if you start with the bottom half of the mount, this face will mount onto the bottom of the cross member, onto the top of the cross member, sorry. And it's easier if you mount it this way up rather than this way, although it will work in both directions. So grab one of your mounts, insert it onto the tube, and then you'll see that the mount has kind of a ridge, and that engages with the hole on the steel mount. So make sure that that clicks in, or kind of finds its home. Place another mount on top, and then the washer, the large washer, goes on the top. When you assemble this, you'll notice that there's the tube becomes slightly shorter than rubber. This is intentional. When you tighten up the bolt, you want the large washer to compress onto the top of that tube, and then you'll feel that when you tighten the spanner, and then you'll know it's tight. So that will actually compress this mount. With the rubber, certainly with the rubber mounts, you can compress it all the way, but with the poly bushes, you may not be able to compress all the way. And that's where these spaces come in. You can use these with the rubber to reduce the stiffness, but they'll probably, well, play with it as you like. These mount into here. There's enough for 3 per side, and you can choose however many you want in order to reduce the stiffness of the mount. Then place on the large washer, and then the M10 bolt goes through the washer. And then the whole thing goes through the mount. It's easier to mount with the bolt going this way down through the cross member because you can have it kind of loose. You can slide the mount around, and then when you find the hole, it will actually drop down. And then, so on the underneath of the cross member, you want to put one of these large washers. Place it on here and the nylon nut. As I said, do it up until you feel the resistance change and you know that the washer on top has bottomed out onto the top of the tube. When mounting the engine mounts to the engine, there's a selection of bolts of different lengths, so please make a note of which one's going where. With the M8 bolts, they go on the exhaust side of the engine onto this mount, and this one's quite simple because there's 3 M8 by 20mm and 1 M8 by 30mm, and you can see there's one of the bosses is longer, and clearly the longer bolt goes in that particular hole. There's 3 different sizes of bolt for the mount which goes onto the inlet side. You've got the M10 by 20, there's 2 of those. The M10 by 25, there's 1 of those, and M10 by 30, there's 1 of those. So if I flip the mount over, it's reasonably obvious which one's which. The longer bolt goes on the one with the longer boss. On this particular mount, I've actually made this hole slightly larger to allow you to get a tool in here for winding the bolt in, and that is intentional, but will mount up exactly the same. So thanks for watching. If you've got any other questions, just let me know.